What's up, everybody? Josh, the friendly neighborhood metal nerd, here once again. I'm going to be releasing several reviews in quick succession today because there's a bunch that I wanted to do before Halloween was over, before spooky season was over, but I didn't get to do it. So here's the second review of the day for you guys, whoever, keeps up with my channel, if you keep up with my channel. Of course, via the title, we're reviewing Mastodon's new mammoth double album, Hushed and Grim, which has been a very polarizing album so far, as what I've seen, with about half of the reviews I've seen praising it as one of the greatest of their career, perhaps even the greatest since Leviathan or Crack The Skye, depending on which one you have as your number one. Those are the two most common favorites for Mastodon. And the other half of the reviewers saying this is just boring. It's just Pitchfork called it a 90-minute slog that is just boring from start to finish, where there's promising elements but they drop them. What do I think about it? Personally, I'm in the former camp. I really truly think that this is a great record, and before I give my opinions on the actual music of the album, I just want to say that maybe I'm a little bit biased. I recently faced a very, very traumatic loss, a traumatic death in the family. My cousin Anthony, who was one of my best and dearest friends, and so this album kind of came right at the right time, because if you look into the press releases and the information that the band members have stated, is that this album concerns grief, and it concerns death and loss. It goes through, and it's basically dedicated to their deceased manager, Nick John, who died a few years ago. But the album is a really, really heavy listen. That is the one thing you can say about it. It is a very heavy listen. I am not ashamed to admit that I actually cried several times throughout this album, because it has such a heavy and dark approach. I mean, Hushed and Grim is really the great name for this album. It's the perfect name for this album, because they scaled back their more overt heaviness. Even though it is present, there is a lot of ethereal 70s prog going on here. There's a lot of brooding atmosphere. There's a lot of sadness and pain, but even some things of a triumphant nature. It seems that some of the tracks are from the perspective of a person that's on their deathbed, and some are from the perspective of the people that they've left behind. So it explores grief, and it explores a kind of what happens after you die, and sort of looking back at your life and the mistakes you made, and all kinds of a lot of dark and heavy subjects like that. Then the music is very much a lot of blend of a bunch of different eras from their career. They've got more of the hard rock, radio rock on some of it. They've got a lot of 70s prog reminiscent to what they did on Crack The Skye, and they've even got some of their more heavier moments circa Leviathan or even Remission somewhat. The guitars, man, this is some of their best guitar work to date. Some of their most incredible, well-written guitar passages, especially Brent really, really kills it on this thing. He's not present as much vocally as some of the other albums, and that shouldn't be a turnoff for some people, but they really, really, really do a good job writing these guitar riffs. Bran Daler, of course, is a beast on the drums. Nobody's surprised by this. If you're a Mastodon fan, this one will not surprise you one damn bit. This is a band that has really mastered the art of reinventing themselves, making sure that each album is its own unique monster, really not repeating the same pattern twice. They still maintain, they take an album, they release it, it has its identity, then the next album maintains some elements of that and pushes it a little bit further. So from where you had the heavy, sludgy, frantic Remission. Then you got Leviathan, which introduced more progressive elements. It kept that heaviness, but introduced more prog elements, introduced more melody into the mix of things. Then you had Blood Mountain, which explored even weirder territory, even more psychedelia and prog, but still maintaining a lot of that heaviness. And then you had my favorite, Crack the Skye, which was them going full prog, 10, 12, 13-minute songs. That just, they took it all out prog. They kind of dropped a lot of the heaviness. It was a redefined Mastodon sound. And from there, they did a complete, not a complete, but they did another reinvention of themselves for the Hunter, which scaled it back and made it more rock and roll, more just weird and psychedelic. Then they did Once More Around the Sun, which again continued the trend into going more psychedelic and streamlined. And then with Emperor of Sand, they went back and kind of combined a lot of these different elements into another great album. And then now they've kind of reinvented themselves once again, something old, something new. A lot of people consider this boring. I don't see how a lot of people consider this boring. This is a fucking great record. It starts out with Pain with an Anchor. That, oh my dear, it's fucking great shit. Another one of my standouts, basically my standout track for this is, then the one that really like gut punched me was this song called Dagger. Especially with the lyrics and the delivery of the lyrics, where it opens up with, I cannot bear to believe that you've left this earth. I couldn't stare as they covered you up with dirt and left, with all the best intent and all your eloquence, the price we paid to know you. The price we paid to know you, that's such a great line. That's such an amazing fucking thing, where he says, the lines you carved remain, too many days to remember, too many times I've tried, the price we paid to know you. A dark shadow was cast with your departure, now we will dig our way from this mudslide and survive. So this is the most heart-wrenching song on the album to me, because it perfectly encapsulates the emotions that I'm currently going through with the loss of my cousin. So like I said, I'm very biased towards this album. It was very therapeutic listen. It's an album that hit me right in the gut, that spoke to me on a very, very emotional and even spiritual level. So this album came out right at the right time. It's an album that I really needed, and for that reason, and for the reason that I legitimately love what they're doing musically on this thing, I give it a 10 out of 10. I mean, some people find it boring. Some people think it's their worst record. I think it's their best since Crack the Skye. I think that it will one day maybe even achieve legendary status among some of their most hardcore fans. 10 out of 10. I might change that score later to a 9 or a 9.5, but for now, 10 out of 10. Mastodon, Hushed and Grim. Peace, everyone.